Well, this past week we've had a very interesting conference here at Caliper Life Sciences. We call it the Revolution of Medicine. And it's very intriguing that we were able to attract from around the world over 300 scientists that are studying cures to cancer, to heart disease, some of the worst ailments in the world. And it was just exciting for us to be able to host this event and have some of the leading speakers in the world on science and medicine attend and basically describe how some of Caliper Life Sciences technologies are really the enabling technologies for the future. But we proceeded from that wake-up call over the subsequent 5 years to acquire 3 businesses: Caliper Life Sciences, Xenogen Biosciences, and NovaScreen, trying to transform our technologies. And I'm proud to say today about 80% of our revenue is coming from those businesses that we've acquired. A few points that came out that I think were interesting. The first is that the life expectancy for children today is actually shorter than for their parents. For the first time in the history of the United States, we have a situation where children have a shorter life expectancy than their parents, primarily because of obesity. 2/3 of the United States today is either overweight or obese, and as a result, these diseases like diabetes are taking people long before they should. And as a result of that, there's a lot of work in our field trying to figure out new ways to deal with diabetes and new medicines, but the better case is to maybe eliminate fast food. That's probably one of the biggest messages of the week. Another critical goal that we put out there for the scientists is that we think that cancer and heart disease could be eradicated from our society in the next 10 years, in this decade. The current life expectancy of a human in the United States is about 77 years old, and most of the expenses occurs in the last, I would say, 3 years of life. About $400,000 is what it costs for a human basically to have health care. In the future, which we think is the real health care as opposed to what we do today as sick care, we're thinking that with these new themes of technology such as vaccines, such as next genome sequencing, which is actually sequencing all the genes in your body so you know what your issues are, coupled with some of the new diagnostic tests and imaging, that a lot of the expense will be upfront early in life, and as a result you'll know what your issues are long before you have them, and that will allow you to take the vaccines and have the medicines that are important long before you have the disease or the issue. And as a result of that, there's projections now that within our lifetime, life expectancy could go to as much as 90 years old, but the key will be to continue some of these newer technologies that are coming forth. So this meeting was remarkable. We had scientists from Pfizer, Merck, Novartis, some of the leading pharmaceutical companies around the world, as well as academia, the Broad Institute, some of the leading institutions, Harvard, Stanford, all of the universities, and they all brought their best science and basically discussed how the science can play a role for the future. So we're real excited to be somewhat the microcosm right here in Hopkinton of this revolution in medicine, and we do think it's going to happen in the next decade. People left our meeting excited and inspired by the possibilities of what can happen.
People around the world are taking their last breaths, are relying on us. Many of you have been affected personally by cancer or by heart disease. We need you to do everything in your power to make this a reality. Here's to it. This is our moment. This is our destiny. Are you ready for it? Yeah!
Vaccines that are already coming to market. As you know, smallpox and polio are 2 ailments that vaccines have pretty much eradicated in the last 50 years. Recently, Dendreon Company has come out with a vaccine for prostate cancer. So long before you get prostate cancer, if you take this vaccine, it'll prevent prostate cancer. Another one is cervical cancer. Merck came out about 2 years ago with a cervical cancer vaccine. So women can take this before age 24 typically, and it will prevent them from getting cervical cancer. We believe that in the next 10 years, there's going to be room for many more cancer vaccines. And that's where a lot of the excitement's coming in this industry, is not just vaccines, but also the human genome, understanding what issues you might have with health later in life now, long before you have that issue, so that you can do something about it. And some of today's imaging technologies can be used routinely to kind of make sure you're on the right path. What other health issues could be there is what you try to find out with the genome sequencing. My estimate is within the next 10 years, we'll all have access to this for less than $500. So that would be the goal, is that everybody in the world basically can have their genomes sequenced in the next 10 years for less than $500, so that they'll know their issues. So that's science. It's coming to, locally here at Hopkinton, and we're real excited about the future and what it holds.